CDC Director Dr. Robert Redfield raises concerns that President Trump is sharing incorrect information with the public because he's being pushed by a new member of the coronavirus task force. Redfield is particularly worried about task force member Dr. Scott Atlas, you see him there on your screen, telling a colleague in a phone conversation overheard by NBC News, quote, "Everything he says is false." Joining us now is NBC's Monica Alba, who overheard that conversation. Quite the interesting flight from Atlanta to D.C. Any flight into D.C. is always interesting, but certainly when you're sitting next to an official, you're bound to get some interesting information. What else did you hear Dr. Redfield say that was so concerning?
You're right, Ayman. Exactly. Have to have your eyes and ears peeled at all times on these trajectories, especially from Atlanta to Washington, D.C., which is where Dr. Redfield was traveling from and where I was sitting just behind him on that flight after covering the president's event in Atlanta on Friday. And what I thought was so remarkable was that you have this public health official making a phone call in public and not holding back on his thoughts of what Dr. Scott Atlas is essentially representing and conveying to the president on everything related to the pandemic when it comes to how useful masks may be, whether young people are susceptible to the virus, and the potential benefits of herd immunity. Dr. Redfield was essentially saying that he doesn't support Dr. Atlas's views on many of these topics and that they make their way to the president and then, of course, ultimately to the public. So when we deplaned in Washington, I spoke to Dr. Redfield. He confirmed that that is indeed who he was talking about, a fellow task force members. And it really shines a light into some of these internal clashes that are taking place. Just there, you showed the Rose Garden where the president is set to talk about a new testing strategy and offer an update. Behind those walls in these very task force meetings, we understand there have been contradictions and disagreements between some of the more veteran health experts, such as Dr. Redfield or Drs. Fauci and Birx, with this newcomer to the task force, who we should point out, by the way, is a neuroradiologist, but he does not have a background either in public health or in infectious diseases. And the reason really he was added to the team is because the president saw him on Fox News pushing to reopen the country, pushing to reopen schools. And that's something the president wanted in his task force. That's why he brought him in and why he's had such an elevated public role where we've seen the other doctors in a diminished presence, at least from the briefing room in recent weeks, Ayman.
All right.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.